And we're live. Good day, Whiskey's brothers and sisters. Welcome to Whiskey Book Club's 6th book review and the 4th edition. And it's called The Complete Whiskey Course, a comprehensive tasting school in 10 classes. So, and it's by Robin Robinson, this guy right here. As always, we're honored to have you, the viewer, and our panel with us here today. My name is Joe. I'm the president of the Alberta Scotch Society, founder of the Whiskey Book Club, and I'm your host tonight. And I'm going to probably mute one of you on the side just to figure out where the extra sound's coming from.
That might be me, Dolph. So I'm going to fix this here.
All right, I'll let you play, and I'm going to continue with my spiel. For those of you that are new, tell you what we are. We're whiskey geeks. We like to drink whiskey. We like to read books. And there are other whiskey book clubs out there, but there's none of them that go delve as deeply as we do with the authors over several periods. And this is hour 9 and 10 on the air with Robin, although if we count all the other hours after that, we're like probably into like 20 hours that we've talked to this lovely man. So he's our spirit guide, but sadly, this will be our final week with our guest of honor, Robin Robinson, the author of The Complete Whiskey Guide. Now, we laughed, we cried because we laughed so much, and we learned a hell of a lot. So kudos to you, Robin. Thanks for coming on with us for our last Saturday night together. So,
dude, I would not have missed it. Thanks, guys. It's fun being here with you all. Let me tell you.
Well, perfect. And thank you. And the sound's cleared up, I think. And we're just going to do our roundtable introductions again. We're starting with Robin, of course. And then Cheryl's not here tonight, but we're going to do Dave, Drew, Kent, Nicole, and last but not least, Sheila and I. Thank you very much. And Robin.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Robin Robinson, and yes, I am the author of that book right there, Complete Whiskey Course, a comprehensive tasting school in 10 classes. And I also do these things online for like corporate parties. So it's called The Story of Whiskey, 60 Minutes of Bad Stand-Up Comedy, punctuated by drinking. So there you go.
Excellent. And we will all see that one day when you get up here in Canada to do that picture. That'd be fun. All right. And Dave, you're up, buddy.
Hey guys, it's Yukon Dave coming from his basement. As always, got a couple of whiskeys today. This is the mystery whiskey number 23, and this is Lismore 18 that I got.
Ooh,
nice. And different cups, or are they both Glencairns? Because we talked about the cup.
Nope. I don't know what this one. I don't know what this one is. It's an Amaroot one that I got.
Well, we'll ask
got these cool graduations on the back, and this is just our standard glass with my fancy lid.
If you put them, I think if you put them next to each other, it looks like it's a rip-off of the Glencairn, right?
Well, if I could figure out this thing, it's only been like almost a year, and I still can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's almost
the stem on there.
It's almost the same thing with a stem. Yeah.
Tulip shaped. Looks good though. Good stuff. Drew, you're up. Let's put that on there and throw Drew up. There we go.
Hi, Drew Semper on most of the ones through. I'm drinking, at Drew Semper is the one. So I am drinking, if I get them mixed up, 3 ships in what they call a Canadian Glencairn.
A neat glass.
That's a neat glass.
A neat glass.
And a Evade feeded in a whatever, an Ardbeg Glencairn with a stem. It's not a Glencairn.
That's a good way to put it. Perfect. Copa. And thank you very much. We're going over to Kent. Here we are.
Hi, my name is Kent. I go by Whiskey Ass on pretty much all platforms now. I'm drinking some of my favorite JP Weiser 7 Rebels in a Glencairn glass, and we're backing it up with a classic water bottle.
Oh,
excellent.
Nice.
Good year, buddy. Good year. And over to Nicole, please.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole. I go by Black Hat Whiskey. I'm not drinking tonight, but I have pulled 2 bottles. One is the Bren, and the other one is the Pendrell.
Well, Nice, and I don't have those in my collection. I was looking for those that were in the collection, so you're up on me there. And Sheila.
I'm Sheila. I go by Anthony in all of the social medias, and I am not drinking tonight, but I would be tucking into a 3 ships, probably the 10 or 15 if I was.
Excellent, thank you very much. And last but not least, we've got little old me on the side. So hello, everybody. And I'm doing a Paul John edited, so a little bit of peat for me, as well as my favorite rye from Millstones. We're doing that. And the 2 different cups as well. I've got my SMWS cup right there, and that one right there. Good looking drams, I think. I'm pretty happy with that. And thanks to everybody for coming.
So that's interesting. A couple of you guys have the neat glasses. What do you think of the neat glasses?
I found that I drink it way too fast.
Yeah.
Seriously, it goes down way too fast.
The neat glass is actually my preferred glass for evaluation and nosing. That's the one of those crazy Norling glasses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Crazy expensive glasses.
Yeah, like 50. I think $50 a shot or something like that. Yeah.
Got it as a gift, so
Nice.
Yeah. It looks like it could have traveled either with Batman on the Batmobile, or or with the evil empire. You know?
Yeah,
it's like an evil empire.
Darth Vader would have that in his glass.
That would be Darth Vader's glass. Absolutely. Yeah.
well, they were hot for a while, a couple of years ago, and they just disappeared. I don't understand why it was so interesting to people, but
well, it's double walled.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's double walled, so it's got whatever double walled actually does for a whiskey glass. I don't know. It's like the whiskey stones. It's a little bit lost on me, you know. So
to keep it from warming up, I thought.
Yeah, I guess so. But if you talk to actually with neat, warming the glass is actually part of the whole experience.
Yeah.
If you talk to Richard Patterson, he'll fucking kill you if he sees you holding a glass like this. But then if you talk to Jim Murray, he hates the Glencairn because only with a Capita can you actually hold it in your glass and warm it, and then keep the vapors in there. So it's like please, right, like that, exactly, yeah, right.
They get the fancy, just get a bunch of fancy lids.
Or you get the lids, yeah, right, yeah. Right.
Or we have a friend that we know that puts it by his heart to warm it up when he does.
Well, that's Murray's thing. He holds it right here, then he tells you a goofy story, and he shows you how he does the tasting
with his own steps, because he's got certain steps that he thinks.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's very entertaining, and it's like absolutely absurd. Which, thank God, that's what whiskey is supposed to be. If we miss the absurdity here, we're really losing it.
All right, guys. My usual thing, starting with a quote. What world whiskeys have in common? I'm going to wait for you. All right?
Yep, I'm fine. Just swallow the wrong way.
All right, good stuff. I'll do it again. What world whiskeys have in common is the adoption of Scotland as their spiritual godfather. I like that quote. And just to introduce us to the notion that we're on the world whiskey part. So lesson 9, world whiskeys. And I'm going to really put this up to everybody right away. So I found a new love for Canadian whiskey, but there's a special place in my heart for Scotch. And it may be more than that, because I think I compare all other drinks that I have, all liquor drinks, to Scotch, because that was my first love, essentially. So I'm asking everyone else out there what your base is, what you go back to maybe compare stuff. And Robin, I'm guessing yours American whiskey, or maybe bourbon, or maybe something else. But I'd like to hear from you and the whole panel if you have something to kind of go back to as a reference point for booze. And let's go with you, Robin, first.
Okay, well, I no longer have a reference point.
Okay.
I've got I did an inventory this summer. I've got 1,165 bottles here. of which 900 and plus are whiskey.
Okay.
So I actually look at my entire collection as a reference library. And I cut my teeth on Scotch. That was my primary flavor taste. That that for a couple of decades, right? Rye is relatively new to me. It's relatively new to everybody. Don't let anybody fool you. It's relatively new to everyone. And bourbon, just kind of made a resurgence in the past, for me, in the last 15, 17 years. So I don't really have a, I don't have a baseline any longer.
Is it because you tried so much? Really?
It's because what?
You've just tried so many of them.
And that's precisely it. And the other thing is that I know that my palate and everyone's palate changes over time. It changes over time. When we were 6 years old, we hated broccoli, and then all of a sudden we got into our late 20s, and I love broccoli in many different ways. So our palates change, our perspectives on life change. Whiskey is not a vacuum. Whiskey is a contextual thing that happens with, it happens with friends, it happens with environment, it happens at times of day. So I in a way, I kind of reject all of that right now, because I just think it's I just don't. It doesn't play. It just doesn't play a role for me.
All right. So. Good. It's not helpful to you. That's fine.
No, it's just
Let's go to the rest of the panel, because I know I do. I have things and I compare it in my mind, and if it's better or worse of these things. But I'm wondering if you have had something like that in the past, you use it now, or if there's a certain brand or distillery that you know so well that you can compare anything else to it. I'm opening it up as I take another drink.
I'd say Macallan's for me.
The what?
Macallan.
What?
It's kind of, well, I mean, my palate, again, like Ron says, the palate has changed over time. We started back with the Brookladdies. Both my wife we really got in with the Brookladdies, and we spent a few years just in that line, and then we started doing tastings and moving on. And then I just kind of dropped into the Macallan line because I like the sweetness. Where Dolph and me are just 100% opposite that way. I like sweet, he likes sour. And it makes for a lot of fun because, we're always on the opposite side of the coin. We're the yin and yang to things. But even lately, I find I've got a few Macallan. I can't tell you the last time I went back to a Macallan to drink it. I've got bottles open here. I just don't go back to them anymore. So I'm progressing further. And this whole Canadian whiskey thing that we've done this year has really just... we've gone sideways with it. I tell you, my palate has changed drastically this year. So
maybe that's your reference point now, is the new whiskey, because
I'm going to say here's my new reference point.
Yeah.
Dr. Don Livermore over at JP Wiser's. He's made a pretty high bar for the rest of the world.
Well, good. He's
pretty fantastic over there. Let me tell you.
Dave, let's go with you, because you have kind of a unique perspective, because you're pushing a brand. You like it. You've had more of yours than anything else, I'm pretty sure.
So go back 13 years when we bought our still, and I really wasn't a spirits guy at all. So I went out and bought a whole bunch of small bottles of all kinds of whiskey. No, with whiskey in them. No.
Well, I'm your name up there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry. I called our distiller, said, I'm going to be a terrible salesman because I can't drink this. They said, no, go get yourself some good scotch. So I went to a Glenfarclas tasting.
Nice.
First tasting ever, and it was really cool. I can't remember who that doctor was from the conservative government. He was there, and I bumped the table and busted 7 or 8 glasses on the floor. And this George Grant told us some amazing stories, so I've always got that spot for Glenfarclas.
Yeah.
Plus, this is actually a Glenfarclas teaspoon.
Glenfarclas juice.
Well, that's
the Hopper takes care of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dad's brand. So Lismore is the name of the family farm, Hank.
Yeah, something to do with a family, something or other. Yeah.
Family.
George Grant himself. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nick, Sheila, Drew, do you guys have a reference point that you kind of go back to?
Years. Oh, except.
No, that's good.
I like Nick and have Drew talk in the background.
Yeah, not bad.
Move your lips to what he says. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Years ago, I'd have said like again into either the Bruichladdich or the Auchentoshan or whatever, somewhere in Scotland. Now, I tend to try to compare to what it is. Like I don't compare a bourbon going back to a Scotch or an Indian to a Japanese. I want to get farther into the Japanese. I have very limited exposure to that one. But yeah, I tend to. On its own, I don't try to compare, back to a Scottish. You?
I have to relearn everything all over again, constantly. So I don't have frames of reference where I can constantly go back. So every day is
You've got a good collection you can refer to as well, so you're good.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, I like to go back to some whiskeys that are familiar, just to sort of sometimes just find that happiness again. It's not so much to compare, but it's I know where my remembrance of drinking a Glenfiddich 12 is, or drinking an Auchentoshan 3 would, and it has certain memories and maybe a baseline point of happiness for me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I go trailing off down to Canadian, and we get lost down that rabbit hole.
Yep, and just keep experimenting. Good
About
stuff.
finding the happy place there, huh?
Yes,
Absolutely.
It's good to find your happy place.
Although, Dolph, I just, you took that quote out of context from this discussion.
All right.
Because that quote was really focused on the fact that all of these, the rest of the world, of the entire whiskey making world, only America focuses on a mash bill. The rest of the whiskey making world, other than Canada, focuses on malted barley. And that's why I say that they have Scotland as their spiritual godfather. You go to France, you go to India, you go to Japan, you go all through Europe. It's always about malted barley, so only in North America do we have like a difference here, because we actually use a different set of grains right here. But that's what that quote actually is referenced to.
Excellent. Thank you for the clarification. I'll take that off now. Get out of here, you stupid. Done. Well, I still wanted to start with a quote, so it didn't matter. We're done. I did it. Now we're same thing. Let's stick with the panel and the talk. International whiskeys. We've I asked everyone on the panel to have a country and a whiskey to highlight. So a distillery whiskey, something like that. So let's go around the bend, and we'll go alphabetically again. So we're going to start with you, Dave. Tell us something that makes whatever you picked interesting, unique, and why you picked it, buddy.
It was on sale.
No. You got that at the tasting that we did together.
Yeah, I'll tell the story. Hang on a second here. So, Puni Alba from Italy. This one was 2016. They started distilling in 2012. And I picked this because Dolph at the Alberta Scotch Society did a blind tasting, and this is one of the ones I really liked. This one and Eagle Rare that I've got up on the counter over there. And I talked to the rep, and this is supposed to be the shape of their stills. Let me hold it back so you can see the damn thing. Huh.
Looks good.
And Puni's it's the river, and Alba means dawn, daylight, something like that. I had it all written down, but it's in my office. So it means something.
And it was profound. And it's a very good whiskey.
Dave, was that a 2016 you said?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've got some later bottlings of that, and they changed their they changed the packaging drastically.
Well, really?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I tell you what, when we go into the second we go into the second phase here, I'll run downstairs and pick the bottles up, and I'll show you to them. Completely different animal than that.
Oh, I hope they didn't change the juice because I like
the juice can only, the whole idea of a small craft whiskey is that it can only, if it should only get better. I mean, what you're looking for is actually a progress. These guys actually, over time wrapping their arms around their process. And, I've seen that,
That's a picture of the distillery.
Wow. That looks like something out of
It looks like the Borg ship.
Like a dystopian kind of a movie there.
The Borg works for me.
Is there a monolith outside?
No, not yet. Anyway, somebody will put one up.
There's a Bernie out there.
All right, Drew Kind, sir. What do you got for us?
Well, the one that popped into my head there was was Three Ships. So South African, and not so much the whiskey itself, but it really wasn't available here for most of them. I don't think it was at all. So we had a friend of ours, close family friend, who hunted down, like, she ended up driving 4 hours.
No, just about an hour and a half.
Okay,
but each way.
Yeah. Basically drove a bunch of different places all over New Brunswick to find the 5, 10, and 15 and sent them to us. So it was interesting through there, and they're pretty good. Good
friend. That's good. Yeah. And why did you pick that, or why were you interested in that one? Just because you hadn't had it? It's like
I hadn't had it. It was to us, or to me anyways, it was new. I hadn't heard of it. It was
Drew, is that the corn whiskey?
I am not actually sure. This is the blend.
Oh, okay.
PD yeah.
So Three Ships is really interesting. I mean, interesting. What I just said before, actually, that they exploded because they actually kind of follow more like a North American style of approach to whiskey, less barley forward, and they use a lot of corn. And they've got like a spectacular, a spectacular single grain whiskey, which is like corn. So you would think it came out of Ireland or Scotland or something.
Yeah. And it was Mike that was telling us about it, Mike Griespa, and who's one of the Deanston and all the rest. But he was talking about it, and for some reason, and I don't know how, it was New Brunswick is where they brought it all into. Nobody else.
They smuggled it in on the Three Ships that they did, and no one else knew about it until this
Hosting Falls.
Poor Mike, he's going to be picked up somewhere. All right, Kent, you're up.
Well, it was legally sold through the NBC.
Okay. No, I'm sure it was.
I'm going to have a theme tonight. It's just going to be this bottle. Everything's going to be about this bottle tonight. One of the cool things about it is there's 7 different distillates in it. And I like the fact it kind of covers all the things that I like. It's got some smoke and some light spices. I don't like a heavy spice like a rye spice. It's like jabbing needles in my tongue. So a light spice like this just works great. They finished it off in virgin oaks, giving it again that glaze and some Speyside casks. So it's got a bunch of cool flavors in it, because you get that toasted malts out of it. You get some vanilla. Again, clove. I love cooking with clove and cinnamon, stuff like that. And unfortunately, this was created kind of as a BC province exclusive only. That being said, we were lucky enough to have one of our friends working in BC this summer and brought a lot of bottles back.
We have a lot of mules bringing stuff over provincial lines.
Is that legal in Canada? Are you guys breaking any kind of interprovincial laws there that we need to know about?
No, we're allowed a fairly good allotment of whiskey across provincial borders.
Okay.
I think BC, it's something like 14 liters at a time.
Down here, it's still fucking gangster land down here. Interstate commerce is kind of like, Pennsylvania to New Jersey. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Okay. So far we've hit Italy, we've done South Africa, Canada. Nick, what you got for us?
I'm going to keep it different. I'm going to bring up Milk and Honey from Tel Aviv.
Good.
So the local
Middle
store, it's from Tel Aviv, so Israeli made. The local store Whiskey Drop brought this in, and because of their connection with the Jewish faith, and he's quite adamant about this and some of the other spirits that they do, and it's really different. And I like the experimentation of trying something outside my normal, something that I've not had before.
Yeah. Good job. Thank you very much. I still haven't had it, and I really did. Sorry, I cut you off there, Robin. Go ahead.
That's right. Those guys, I think, it's young, and but you can taste the structure of discipline inside that whiskey, which means that that's a whiskey that is, you can tell. This is like, you can tell sometimes when you know, with craft distillers, you can pick up, you can taste their new make, you can taste their the white dog, and you say, you know, this needs a couple of years in a barrel, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And that's what Milk and Honey is. I've tasted some of their new make. I've tasted the stuff that you've got in your bottle right there, and it's interesting. It's not quite there, but you can see the structure that over time, these guys have got something. These guys have got something in a barrel right here. You know?
Yeah, nice.
In 10 years of production time, there'll be something to.
Yeah, you know, and the marvelous thing about what's happened in the past 25 years or 20 years is you watch all of these people make whiskey. I mean, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they got passion. Who the fuck cares about your passion, you know? And yet then over time they start applying discipline to that passion, and then they start getting smarter and they get more sophisticated, and then you see. It's fantastic. It's been, you know, I think for anybody who loves whiskey, this is a marvelous time to watch this arc of progress from all of these distillers. And M&H is like one of these, you know, to watch for the next 5 years. You know? Yeah.
And smart to have a first bottle. I'm pretty sure you've got one that's sealed up too.
Yeah. Hey, Kat, don't drink it all. Hold whatever you can do. Hold on to half that bottle. You know, get a vacuum pump in there and everything like that, right? And then wait for a couple of years for some of the older stuff to come out and the newer stuff to come out, and then do a side by side. It'd be awesome.
Excellent. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm with the Dutch, so the Netherlands, so the Zudem. So, well, my favorite rye of all time, but Millstone. I'm loving Millstone, and I buy just about everything they have. So. And I've got another 4 bottles. You can see 2 just up there if you're looking. I didn't want to bring them all up. My wife said, "You're not opening them all tonight, are you?" We had a rough night last night with Robbie Burns, so it's she didn't know what I was liable to do tonight.
Hey, what's the Ménage à Trois? Is that 3 different? Is that 3 different kinds of woods? The Ménage à Trois?
Ménage à Trois it's Dutch 3 grain.
3 grain. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And I haven't had it. I bought it and haven't cracked it open yet.
You guys are lucky, man. You get shit like that. I mean, we actually have to go in the back alley and kind of give a pint of blood, in order to get something like that, in the United States.
I would. It's worth it. Pint of blood for some whiskey, I'll trade you. A bottle for a bottle. I remake it. It's all right.
It depends when you're tapping. Are you going to tap before or after I've actually had some whiskey?
Last night they could have tapped me and had a whole bunch of fun with that. Holy cow. Yeah. So how about you, Robin? Do you have kind of a place that you were looking at and maybe not a you can't pick it, but something that really was maybe international?
I'm sorry. What was the whole question again, Dolph?
So going back, do you have a favorite international whiskey? And if you don't have an international favorite, just something that really surprised you when you had it for the first time.
Oh, well, I think, well, everybody surprised me, just quite honestly, I mean, everyone, like Hammerhead from the Czech Republic and Millstone and Owl and from Belgium and Amrut. I mean, Amrut probably remains one of my favorites to this day. Fusion, I think, is the most fucking amazing made whiskey, right? And this is from a, you know, if you look in the book, you know, I talk about, you know, IMFL, you know, Indian made foreign liquor, you know, you figure out what these guys were like, you know, what they were calling whiskey. It was like, no, you know, it's rum based, you know, and put in juice boxes, and, you know, and then, you know, Amrut decides, you know, we're going to make like world-class stuff here, you know. Penderin, that Cat had, one of my early favorites, you know. I mean, I fell in love with Penderin years and years and years ago. That's the Madeira finish right there, which is fabulous. And I've always been a fan of Jim Swan, who was like, you know, he's kind of like, he was the guru of whiskey and wood. Who else surprises me is M&H. Some of the new stuff coming out of Australia right now, like Starward is really the only one that's kind of coming forward. You know, for a while we had Lark, and for a while we had Sullivan's Cove, but all of those are gone now, and we're waiting for the brands to kind of, you know, reinvigorate themselves. It's, you know, hey, look, there's a second distillery in Taiwan, right? You know, this is Taiwan, a country that has no whiskey heritage. No whiskey heritage, right? So Kavalan was like the brainchild of, like, you know, King Car Corporation, and then now there's Omar that's out there now, and so that's brand new. I think for me, outside of the big five, and Dave has that map right there that kind of, you know, that shows, you know, the big five is United States, Scotland, Ireland, Canada, and Japan, right? Yeah, right there. I think it's an arms race between India and France. France has opened up, from my understanding, in the past 10 years, something like 40 new grain-based distilleries on top of whiskey being made in Charente, you know, cognac stills. So, for example, you know, the Brenne that you have there, Kat. So Allison Park is an old friend of mine. I remember when she launched the brand. Actually, I volunteered my daughter, who was just getting started in the industry, to be her, like, you know, her
brand ambassador.
No, she was her intern, her free, you know, yeah, right. And you know, they used to get, like, you know, the city bikes here in New York City, and she used to put cases in the city bikes and actually just drop them off. You know, I mean, so she was self-distributing. That is that's a whiskey made on site at a cognac distillery, and a lot of the whiskeys came out of cognac and eau de vie distillation facilities. And now France is like, you know, because remember, France is really the breadbasket of Europe. I mean, you're talking about agriculture. I mean, France is really at the top there. They're probably producing more per ton than anyone else. And so now they're opening up crazy whiskey distilleries. And then the thing that I learned about India was, and this was with a discussion with Michael D'Souza, who is the head of distillation at Paul John. And Michael now had been a distiller for, yeah, there it is. Michael had been a distiller in distilling for something like 20 years before he joined Paul John. But distilling in India was very, very different, because it went from biofuel to molasses based. And that's what IMFL is molasses based, high spirit. And Michael said something to me that blew my mind, and he said that India is about 20 years ahead of the rest of the world in the technology of distilling. Because these big biofuel centers, I mean, they've been doing like 5-column multi-pressure distillation, which is incredibly, technology forward than anybody. I mean, even, Cameron Bridge and, and Heaven Hill, they're not touching this, Don Livermore, they're not touching this. This is like way out in fucking, super space here. The bad news about India that he said was that they didn't even know what a bad congener was, 15 years ago. Oh, yeah. So they didn't really have a sense of quality. They didn't have a sense of, what was going on from a taste perspective. They just knew how to actually run this stuff out at a high rate, very, very pure. So now you have France that actually has, a framework of gastronomy, right? Yep. And here is India with a framework of technology, and there's your arm race right there. Right. There's your arms race. It's going to be very interesting to see. Ireland, for all of Ireland's, there's a lot of new upkick about Ireland, but most of the distilleries in Ireland are kind of small on the craft areas. You really only have the three big guys, which is Cooley and Middleton and Bushmills, and then everybody else is kind of like, but you got like crazy, big crazy guys in India and France. France comes from a culinary background, man. It's going to be an interesting. We're all going to benefit. It's all going to be
good because all the whiskeys are now going to the States because there's 700 mils, and you're going to drink all our whiskey up. So we need new stuff.
Oh my God, I can't tell you what that was like. Man, that was like opening up a dam that was just being, held up right there. There's one page something in the book about. I explain, why Americans don't get the bulk of the world whiskeys because of that 750 bullshit. Because we flirted with the metric system back in the 1970s, and then we just said, nah, So now. There was a compromise in there. So we actually have to get our wine and spirits in milliliters, our Pepsi in liters, but I can go to the grocery store and buy a gallon of milk. It makes no damn sense at all. Right. So now we live in this it's a bullshit hybrid world right here.
Well, it's no different in Canada. I mean, when you guys flirted with it, Canada jumped. But
you jumped?
Oh yeah, we went metric because we used to be imperial as well.
Oh yeah. What that was smart. I mean, you either go one way or you stay back here. We ended up having a hybrid. It's like nobody's happy.
Well, we're still hybrid though. I go down to the local hardware store. I buy a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
Oh, you're kidding me!
I am not. 2x4s, 2x6s, everything still in the building world is still in because we deal with the US, right? So it's all. I mean, a lot of times you'll see it. It's 1440 millimeters by whatever the hell.
Well, but how about volume? Are you standardized on volume, on liquid volume?
Standardized by volume. Everything's
okay.
in
Well, at least you're standardized on that. We haven't, But yeah, we still have 4x8 sheets of plywood too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah, don't fuck with the building trades.
They're not changing.
They're not changing, man. It's all about gangsters. It's all about gangsters.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that, I mean, as much as we say the U.S. is going to take all the liquid, they're still fighting France. I mean, right out of the book here, in a 12-month period, 13 million cases of blended Scotch went to France, compared to the whole U.S. only doing 7 million.
France sucks down blended Scotch whiskey like it's going out of style, right? They've been doing that since the 1800s.
So we need to stop the the French from drinking so much, and we need to get more.
Good luck.
There's blends that come out of Scotland that go to France that don't go anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Right. If you go to one of the major bottling halls in Scotland is called Broxton, and it's in a town called Broxton. And it's like, north of Edinburgh, and it's like just about everybody has their bottling going through, all the small independents and everybody. You'd be surprised what goes through there. I mean, they've got maybe a dozen high-speed bottling lines there, and they're just running like crazy all the time. And so we were in the lab area in there, because that's where, when I was with Compass Box, that's where Compass Box has their bottling done. So I got a great story to tell you in the second part about something that happened there.
Can it get any better?
What's that?
Can it get any better? No.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But anyway, so we were in the lab, and they had actually all the bottles of blended Scotch whiskey that are lined up. And I said, I've never seen, any of these. And they said, well, that one only goes to Singapore, and that one only goes to South America, and that one only goes over to, the Nice, and this one. So, they've got blended Scotch whiskey that goes in all different parts of the world. And Dewar's is, American. That's the United States. We're probably the biggest Dewar's drinkers here. But, there's all kinds of stuff out there, boy. Man, blended Scotch is huge. Holy cow.
Yep. Well, 90% of the world drinks blended Scotch. So. Yeah,
well, that's the world knows whiskey through that. Specifically, blended Scotch whiskey. I mean, that's actually how the world knows Scotland. It's how the world knows whiskey. I remember traveling in Central America right out of college. So this is actually late 70s, and everywhere I went was Johnny Walker Red. Mm-hmm. Johnny Walker Red signs, Johnny Walker Red everywhere. Johnny Walker Red owned Ecuador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, and owned that whole central area right there. Like one brand everywhere he went, Johnny Walker Red. Right. That was a hell of a salesman.
Yeah. Somebody was doing their job properly.
Someone really knew what the hell they were doing, man. Made a lot of money from it too. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure most of us as younger kids, I remember at least having a friend, and I remember the big bottle on the freaking tilt reel all the time. And
Johnny Walker Red. Oh yeah.
Either that or it had the pump, right?
Yep, Seagram's did the same thing. A lot of those, big volume brands. Yeah, they did that. Yeah, you'd have that thing that was on. Yeah, that was great. The tilt. If I could
find that a Texas Mickey though?
Texas Mickey, yeah.
Well, Texas Mickey. Is that what we call it?
1 liter as well on the rail.
Texas Mickey?
A Texas.
That's what we call it.
Yeah,
big one.
66 ounce.
That is the coolest name I've ever heard. Texas Mickey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the 60.
Write that down. You can hold it for your
dude. I'm starting up a country western swing band. I'm gonna call it Texas Mickey.
I'll listen to it. I'll be there. I do have a question about the IMFL, but before we get to that, Sheila didn't tell us about her favorite country. I don't think. Right, Sheila? You're not the same as Drew.
Well,
he's dead.
No, I'm not. I didn't. Well, and I don't have a bottle to show off because I'm still hunting for it.
Oh, that's okay.
So Robin had briefly mentioned it. It's the Hammerhead whiskey.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to taste it years back, probably about 12 or 13 years ago. The Hammerhead rye. And so I talk a lot about how I don't like certain ryes because of that high rye bite, but Hammerhead rye is something else. It's amazing, and I have been searching for a bottle for it ever since. So it's
let me put you on a second search, Sheila, while you're at it, because I was just looking at the World Whiskey Awards. I was in Berlin last year in 19, right before the shutdown, for the Bar Convent Berlin, and I came upon a whiskey that blew my mind. And this was, this is a bar show. There must have been 10,000 SKUs at this bar show, but whiskey only really occupied a very, very small amount. And what blew me away was something called Stork Club Rye. Stork Club Rye. And I just saw the other day a World Whiskey Awards. It actually won an International Rye Award. Stork Club, told to me by the founder of the brand, gets their rye from the same fields that Wild Turkey gets their rye in Germany.
Okay.
So it's 100% German rye. And yes, Wild Turkey actually sources their rye from Germany. And so that might be, there it is, Stork Club. Yeah, they changed their bottle too. So that's something to kind of look for. You know, you guys might have a better shot at getting it than I will, but go. You know, if you're on a search for Hammerhead, see if you can find some of the Stork Club too.
Nice.
All these years, I've never found it. It has such a bizarre background story to it as well.
Who does?
I heard it's Hammerhead.
Oh yeah.
The guy who tried to make it, he taught himself how to distill out of a book, and kind of learned how to distill backwards. And then they laid it up during the Cold War in order to sell it off to soldiers. But then the soldiers left by the time it was ready, so it just kind of got forgotten in a warehouse and found. It was laid up in like the mid 1980s, completely forgotten about until the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And then bottled up, but nobody in Czechoslovakia really likes it, so it's all sold off to foreign markets.
It
is an amazing rye.
They've got no. They'd have no. That was commie moonshine.
And they do sell it in Czechoslovakia apparently, but really only to tourists because nobody in Czechoslovakia will drink it.
Because they're drinking Slivovitz. They're drinking Slivovitz. They're drinking Udavy. They're not drinking this shit. It's like these crazy Westerners.
So it has such a bizarre story, but when I tasted it, it was the most beautiful rye I've ever had.
Wow!
And I have been hunting a bottle of it ever since.
That's great.
I just think it's fabulous rye.
Good. I hope you find it. Yeah.
And then I'll share it with everybody else so you can see what I think
it's all about the hunt sometimes.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent. Well, so we did pretty well. No duplication anywhere. Everyone did. It's good. I like it. These are good bottles for everyone out there to try to hunt.
I didn't show you my bottle.
So I am going to go back to the.
Ooh. Bruichladdich.
Yep.
So it was interesting. I bought a bottle it was a charity event for a very, very good cause, and I bought a bottle of an independent bottler's 27-year-old Bruichladdich. There was a barrel pick for this charity event, and so I wanted to support this. I wanted to support this cause, so I bought a bottle, and it was distilled in 1991, and then bottled in 18, and I was really disappointed. It's been a while. I've got like 5 or 6 Bruichladichs downstairs and some Port Charlottes and Octomores and stuff like that. And Bruichladdich, man, it was like I was an early favorite back, like when Jim was just like releasing all of that shit that he found in the warehouses and stuff like that. It was like every Thursday. Oh, it's Thursday. It's another Bruichladdich coming out, and well before that. Oh shit, yeah, well before that, yeah. But I was tasting this and I said, wow, this is kind of, when you looked at it, 27-year-olds, it was very, very pale in the bottle. And that's kind of like an indicator. So they're obviously using second, maybe third fill barrel on that. And then you taste it, and then on the bottle, it said it was in a hogshead, and this was a tired ass piece of wood, not chill filtered. It was 1 out of 268 bottles coming out of a hogshead. It was down to 44.2%, so that'll kind of give you an idea what the angel share was like, right? Man, it's like lost a ton, right? And that barrel was tired because when I'm tasting it and it was flaccid, you know, it kind of like there's a soapiness about Bruichladdich, which when it's been aging in an active cask, it balances out and it's really kind of like this really neat, oh, that's Bruichladdich, you know, and it's really kind of a fun little thing. But you put that in a tired cask and it's kind of like, wow, man, that's not happy. That's not happy whiskey, you know. And so I had to pull this out for tonight's event just to remind myself that I really do like Bruichladdich, you know. This has restored my faith in the brand again, you know. And you know that it's an independent bottler. It's actually a well-known independent bottler too. But so I was really surprised, you know. There you go. There's an object lesson in there somewhere.
Yeah. Which one was that, Robin?
I'm not going to say.
No, the bottle you showed.
Oh, the one I'm showing right here. This is the Micro Provenance series, single cask evolution, exploration. You know, they go all kinds of crazy. So this is distilled in 1990, 49.0%. Original cask bourbon. They even put like Quercus Alba, just in case you don't know what a bourbon cask is. And then additional cask was a Calvados cask.
Okay.
And rotation 10 out of 180, cask number 02, warehouse number 2, bottle number 421. So yeah, so this is the cask evolution series right here. You know.
Yeah. And we had some of those available.
So like, you know, so Kent, like your black art there. Yeah. This is Jim McEwen, like, you know, just freaking going crazy. You know?
I like that bottle because it was the last one that Jim McEwen did in the Black Art series.
Oh, really? Which one? Which year is it?
That's the 4.1.
4.1. Yeah. Jim was something, man. Yeah.
I have the 2.11 as well, which I actually like it better, but it's it's getting very thin.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Does anybody have like a vacuum pump for their bottles there?
Nitrogen.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Dolph, you do? Yeah.
Oh, we all do. Yeah. Well, I've got the pump, I've got the spray, or just put it in a smaller bottle, but then you have to.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Smaller.
Yeah, we just decant smaller bottles.
Yeah. Or I just actually have friends over, then we drink it.
Yeah, that works too.
For those of us that have friends, yeah.
Right. Okay. I drink it by myself. Okay. All right.
Well, if you have us.
I've got friends that'll drink stuff. Yes. We all have lots of friends that'll drink all of our stuff on us if we want.
Well, prior to COVID, I used to have like a kill the bottles night, you know, so I would bring out all of my, all of these guys, you know, that's okay. The soldiers are going tonight, you know, and then I had friends over and, you know, and we'd knock off a couple.
Nick, Drew, and Sheila, why don't you tell about what you used to do? Because you'd have 50 bottles out there for no, it's a great story.
Massive heels nights for charity. So we would collect up all our heels, and then we would do a charity event for women's shelters.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
First,
very good.
68
68
bottles
or something like that.
Oh,
so
it was
and
insane.
some of the thing about our heels was that they weren't necessarily heels. They would just be, we didn't necessarily like the bottles all that much. So we would be like, 3/4 full.
And I don't know if we say this, but you would bid on them at the end of the night as well, which is kind of great. So you get some pretty good things, and people made money on. Was it women's shelters? What was the name of the group though?
It was E4C, which is I can't remember what E4C Alberta actually stands for. It's
okay,
but it's
a specific group.
It's a women's shelter, and they actually do like Head Start programs and lunch programs, and there's a whole series of different programs that they actually ran.
Well, guys,
thousands for charity that way.
I'm going to wrap it up just because we've got 5 minutes before the hour, but I want everyone to have a chance to have like one last word. Anything you want to say to Robin on the Whiskey Book Club, because I know Drew and Sheila, you're not here for the next one. So we'll go around and have everyone kind of your last comments of the night before we shut off and go to the after draft. So let's do this alphabetically as well. Same thing. So Dave, we're going to start with you. Any last comments, buddy? Oh,
You're muted, buddy.
You're muted, bud.
I actually just did that. All right, try again. I wish I actually got this book 13 years ago. This is something that I've recommended this to all kinds of people. What a great way to start an education, a complete guide. And having Robin on has just been absolutely a pleasure.
Hasn't it?
Appreciate it.
Drew.
Robin, it's been a pleasure having you take us through. This has been a blast and a education. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
And Sheila, why don't we just do you instead of going back and forth? It's a lot easier.
I know Drew's copy looks so pristine, but that's only because my copy is not.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
You're supposed to mark it up. It's good.
so thank you very much. We learned so much from you, and we really, really enjoyed having this time with you. And we do recommend this book to everybody.
My pleasure. Oh, good. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And this guy right here.
Robin, see, if you notice, everybody else got this really nice gold writing down here. So I'm waiting for you to come Canada because I bought my book before they bought their book.
Oh.
And I passed up my signed copy so somebody else could get a copy of it. And I'm going to buy a gold pen for you to come and sign mine as well.
I'm coming to Alberta just for you.
Excellent.
Another copy to be signed.
I got two.
There's a
Oh,
few
Hey.
All right, Nick. Oh, sorry.
We have definitely sold a few of your books. I've been talking to a bunch of people about it, and they're like, "That's great." They took a look, and like everybody else,
That's what you know what? You just gave me an idea. I'm actually gonna have the book sold with all those tabs in it because that means, people are actually reading it. So thank you so much.
The first part is like all the pink copies here are all your chapters. So
Oh, wow.
down the side is all the talking points.
Dude, you got a system, man. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well,
You should be my editor.
Oh no, I can't spell to save my life.
Nick, you're up.
Robin, thank you so much. Yes, you need to come and sign.
Yeah.
As a whiskey enthusiast drinker, it's been great, but you know what? You also gave me an education on some of the stuff I've walked past on the shelf and made me sort of stop and go, I need to go back and buy that. And it's really hard going, I have so many bottles, but that one's really good because you talked about it now and you've created dilemmas, but I love the fact that you've challenged me. Thank
Good.
you.
I'm glad. Thank you so much. I appreciate
I got to thank Nick because the two bottles I was quite interested in, she's showing on camera, so I know I can get samples.
Yeah, that's good. And Robin, we'll finish off with you, buddy.
Hey, listen, guys. Hey, Dolph, first of all, man, thanks for finding me. Thanks for inviting me. You guys are a friggin' hoot. I can't wait to... We got to do something like live in 21 or 22 or something like that. I can't wait to meet you all personally. This has been a hoot. I've really, really, really enjoyed this time with y'all. So this has been fantastic, and I'm just touched that you all got some value out of the book, and that's why I wrote it. So thank you, and keep putting those tabs on there, man. That's like
There's so much value in this thing. I don't do tabs. I write right in it, and I know I'm not supposed to, but I've written up all the pages.
Awesome.
And one day, maybe when my kids look through my stuff and they see all my little notes to myself and other people, they'll see how actual crazy, batshit crazy I was. It's good. They should do it. But fantastic, Robin. I'm going to see you online. I am, because we see each other, and I see you on Tuesday nights. But in person is what we're all hoping for one day, if we can make it down south. Or what I really want to do is I want to see your 60 minutes. I want to see the stand-up and drink.
man. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
All right. Well, I'm wrapping it up. We're moving our conversation to this more informal, more relaxed, equally engaging, probably more colorful type of situation. Robin's going to be there with us. Here's this book, The Complete Whiskey Course, a comprehensive tasting school in 10 classes. He's going to be with us for another hour. And there it is in the corner. He doesn't have to hold it up. And really, what better activity is there than talking to people we like and drinking along with everyone else? So everybody out there, come back 5 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more on this channel. And yeah.
Hey, I just want you to know that that's the Isle of Skye right above it right there. Right. And that's really where whiskey started for me with Talisker.
Nice.
Excellent. See, that's your base, man. That's that. So we'll see you all in 5 minutes. Cheers, Sláinte, and hopefully you have a fantastic night, one and all. Come back though in 5 minutes. It's fun.
See you soon.
Guys.